Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second part of roles and jobs in the IT industry. So, in today's lesson, we'll be reviewing, in my opinion, more contemporary jobs related in the IT industry, and I'm quite sure that you will find these jobs much more interesting and much more appealing than the jobs that we've mentioned and talked about in our previous video. Okay, so before we start, let's remind ourselves of the learning outcome. Okay, so I can identify specific roles in technology and computer related fields. Example, game creators, sound and video producers, and ethical hackers. So basically today I'll be discussing and talking about game creators and game designers, sound and video producers, and ethical hackers. Okay, so let's start with our first um, role and job, which is game designer, game creator, right? So, video game designers are also known as game designers or game creators. It's the same thing. And the role of a game designer is to design games for a variety of forms, okay, such as games for consoles, Nintendos, PlayStations, Xbox. Those are the three prominent gaming consoles. Games for wireless applications, games that will be run on internet browsers, okay, and also games to be run and played on mobile phone devices, so game apps on our mobile phones, on our smartphones. So the role of a game designer is to decide on the overall design and purpose for the game, but many also specialize in one aspect of the design, such as the storyline, characters, and layout. So the game designer needs to come up sort of with the whole concept of the game. In this case, a game designer is not the game developer, so that person won't be needing to code the game, all right? But the game designer will be creating the concept, so be creating the storyline. So, if you know, as you already know, all the games need to have a very cool and modern and attractive storyline, right? Um, in each game, there are different characters, so each character has their own persona. Okay, so the characters have different features, different abilities, different stories. Each character have their own layout of the game, the scenarios, the graphics, and so on. So there are different aspects that the game designer needs to look after. Now, as I've said, each of these components, the storyline, characters, layout, environment, etc., a game designer might be only responsible for one part, all right? And for example, if there are different layouts and different environments of a game, you might have game creator and game designer for each different layout and environment. And also you might have a game designer for different for just a single character. So imagine how many stuff you need in order to create a fully functional game, right? So, and then there are the lead designers who coordinate the design aspect. So, the environmental designer creates different scenarios and environments of the game. Right? Designers have a different role to that of a video game developer. All right, as I said, who takes the designer's concepts and write the code to make them into a game that can be obviously played. So, game designer is a completely different job and a different role from the video game developer. Okay, moving on. So, a game designer, creator, obviously needs to have a lot of skills in creativity, innovation, and technical know-how, right? And also, more, which is also important, and that person needs to have experience in the games world. Okay, so so there could be developers that don't like video games, all right, but in this case that person needs to have a lot of experience in the games, in the video games world, all right. Now talking about salaries, so salaries for those working in this sector in game design, all right, especially in graphic design and animation, will have a typical salary of about starting actually a starting salary of 18,000 euro. Okay, so that is the starting salary, and it will increase according to progression. Okay, so um, you can one can those of you who would like to work as game designers and creators are would find employment, right, in either in marketing companies and in video games developing companies such as Ubisoft, Nintendo, and Epic Games. I'm sure you've all heard of these three video game companies, all right. So these companies and others like Sony and others, all right, no, they employ people to create games and design games for their company, all right. Now, required and important is creativity, as I mentioned, an artistic vision, okay, storytelling ability. So it's not just creating a game, you need to create a whole story, all right, to make it more appealing and attractive. Remember, creating a video game, the final purpose for it is to generate sales. Okay, having a lame story would not the game would not do well in sales, right? So wide range knowledge of gaming trends. So as we've mentioned, you need to be aware of what's going on in the gaming world. Strong analytical frame of mind, all right, and excellent programming skills. Even though a game designer wouldn't be programming, all right, still that person needs to have excellent programming skills. And the last one, ability to work as part of a team. Okay, so in the digital world and in the IT world, it's rare to have a job that you'll be able to work on your own. Okay, so it is important, it is adamant that you'll be able, that you know how to work as part of a team. Now, we'll be talking about courses in Malta that focus on game design. In fact, there are quite some courses. The first one is game design and development for young learners. So this is aimed for kids and students like yourselves. Okay, so this is offered by Innovative Kids Malta. All right, and there are other courses. There are standalone courses like My Success Game Designer by ICE Malta, and there are also other courses in um, in, in Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science, and also MAs. They're offered by MCAST, by the American University of Malta, the one in Cospicua, and also by the, moving on to our next job we'll be talking about is sound producer. So a sound producer basically is produces music, but through by assisting artists or groups in a studio to create recorded music for an album, for a movie, advert, or for any kind of creative output. Okay, so normally when we think of when we think of a sound producer, we think of artists or groups who record their music to be sold on CDs and be listened to on music streaming services such as Spotify and Apple Music. But music producers are also required and needed in movies and adverts. In fact, just um, the in fact Hollywood gives awards. For example, there is an Oscar for the best music score. So there's an actual Oscar for original music in movies. Okay. Now, music producers are responsible for developing and making creative content, right? Obviously, it needs to be creative. Otherwise, if you're copying someone else's music, it would be stealing data, right? You're stealing property. You could be working in a studio, all right? Music producers have their own studios, or in live event as a live event producers, right? So, or as a producer and sound engineer. We need to realize that the term music producers covers a number of careers in the music production. All right, there are several different routes that one can follow. Obviously, first and foremost, you need to be musically inclined. All right, so this job is specifically for those who like music, obviously, and they are good in creating music. So I wouldn't suggest this career for anyone who is isn't even capable of holding a simple clap beat. All right. Okay. So a producer's role is to pull together the separate parts of a sound recording. As a music producer, you'll be working with bands or making decisions on the type of musicians that are required to record a particular piece of music. You'll also decide on the type of recording process to use and and based on the available budget. Right? So the roles include the writing of music, arrangements, recording, and producing of music. Sorry, for other artists or in their own right. So for them, it means for themselves as well. So some producers can work in the publicly funded environment, all right, also in the commercial sector, and many work on a freelance basis. So there are music producers that they work as freelance. So, for example, there is a company who would like to create an advert, and they contact um, the sound producer to create the music for their advert. All right, or there is an artist who would like to record a CD, and then this person, the artist, um, contacts the sound producer in order to record their CD. All right. There are also crossing over into other disciplines such as theater production, right, composition, and direction. So even in theaters, all right, um, there is the need for sound producers. Okay, most sound producers work on an hourly basis with fees starting at around to £25 to £55 per hour. All right. Uh, Nevertheless, some experienced and very popular sound producers can charge up to £200 per hour, depending on their previous work and the level of their skill. Okay, so if you are looking for a very famous and successful sound producer, um, you'll be expected to have a very high fee. Okay, £200 per hour, which is quite high. It is very steep as well. So now we're talking about the responsibilities of sound producer. Now these vary depending on the artist, the recording studio. They depend also on the radio station. Also, they depend on the label that the studio that the sound producer is working with, and the organization that the person is working with, as I've said. So, but in general, the tasks will include listening to an artist's demo tapes and working with artists to produce the sound they require, deciding on an appropriate studio for an artist's music and equipment, right? Advising on album songs. So you'll be helping out the artists in this case and deciding what suits best that particular artist and what kind of instruments are required for that particular music, right? And songs. Also, you'll need to be able to operating the technical equipment, such as the mixing desks. Mixing desks. I'm referring to those boards where you have a lot of switches that you need to put up and down and turn around. Those knobs. Okay. Technical work include audio editing, so there'll be the need to edit the sound as well. All right, put sounds together and so on. Sound design and ghost production, helping artists to achieve the sound they're striving for. So you'll need to be working hand in hand with the artist. You cannot go rogue and design something that the client, the artist, was not expecting. All right. So there need to be a common ground between the sound producer and the also be able to work within organizations, venues, and artists involved in live events. So, as you know, normally there'll be a lot of live events, and so the sound is not something that can be recorded. So, sound in this case, it's something live. Okay, so there could be errors, and it needs to be a precise work. Otherwise, it will ruin the live event. Okay, find and book suitable events, planning events, schedules, timing, and performances. So now we'll be focusing and talking um, about live events, making logistical arrangements for artists, ensuring the arrangements of other facilities such as catering, toilets, entertainment, and insurance is done, all right, and working with marketing teams to prepare printed material. So there's a lot of um, work to be done in sound producers, all right, and sound engineers in case of live events as well. Okay, so that's it about sound producers, and now we'll be talking about some. It is quite similar, all right, but we'll be focusing more on video producers. Okay, so a video producer coordinates and manages many aspects of a video production process from start to finish. In a nutshell, basically, a producer may help with creative direction, setting a budget, writing scripts, organizing logistics, deadlines, which is important, and communication with the team each step of the way. In the United States, the average salary for a video producer is of 74,000 euro per project. So in this case, video producers are paid per project. So for example, for an entire, let's say in a Hollywood blockbuster movie, okay, a video producer might get paid around probably much more, around 74,000 per movie, per project, right? Now, the two most critical technical skills a video producer needs to have mastered are so they need to know how to operate a camera, obviously, and using editing software such as Final Cut Pro X, for example, and there are Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere. So those are very important skills. You need to know how to operate the camera, even though probably video producers wouldn't be actually doing the filming, and they need to know how to use certain editing softwares, all right, the most popular ones that are used in movie productions. Now, personal skills for a video producer. So they need to have fierce attention to technical detail. So it's not like "Uja jaddu kollox." No, that's not the right attitude. All right, patience is needed enough to work through big picture changes. A video producer needs to be a very good storyteller with a creative eye. Okay, so creativity is in play, all right, is at play, and they need to be storytellers, all right. Remember, we judge whether a movie was a success or not is by how many people actually decide to go and watch that movie in cinemas, all right. We can hear if it's a box office success, all right, so and how much money they make by people going at the cinemas to the cinemas. All right. Also, you have creative, inspiring stories that tug at your heartstrings. So stories that are able to transmit the feelings, all right, that are able to transmit emotions to the viewers, and also they need to know how to stick to hard and fast deadlines. Okay, as you all know, the movie industry, all right, they're literally tied by deadlines and hard and fast deadlines. Also, they need to be able to have excellent and strong communication skills. Down here below, there are three famous producers. All right, so um, there's Jerry Bruckheimer and George Lucas, and well, I'm sure you all know this one. I'm not going to mention him at all. Let's move on. So now I'll be talking about the role, last job related to IT, and I'm sure you're all excited to hear about this. So I'll be talking about ethical hackers. All right, emphasis on the word ethical. Okay, so also ethical hackers are also known as white hackers. So that means that there are the black hackers or unethical hackers. Okay, so those of you who are interested in being black hackers, that won't be considered as an legal and safe profession. All right, so let's focus more on the ethical hackers. So basically, ethical hackers need to be certified. Okay, so you need to be certified that you are an ethical hacker. So, in other words, ethical hackers, all right, are cybersecurity experts who are employed to verify and improve the security of a company's computer system. Their job is to conduct advanced penetration tests on a company's system and identify any breaches or weakness in the security setup. So, in other words, basically, if I have a company, all right, for example, I own a bank, all right, I employ a, an ethical hacker, all right, and I ask that person, listen, I want you to hack my system. I want you to hack the computer system of my bank. Why? Some people might think the bank owner is nuts. No, the reason why is so if the ethical hacker is able to break through the banking system, that means that there needs to be security updates. They need to strengthen their security system, right? So that's why companies employ ethical hackers, right? Not to steal their money, no, the bank's money, no, but to test whether the system is being strong enough, all right? So companies are hiring ethical hackers in order to test their own system, all right? To see if there are any breaches or weakness in the system setup. Now, ethical hackers must have a bachelor degree in a related field, such as in information technology and in computer science, ethical hackers need to have computer programming experience, obviously, all right, and have familiarity with a range of different programming languages. It is common, well, actually, it is mandatory nowadays for employers to require ethical hackers to have certified ethical hacker CEH certification. So this is an actual legalized certificate that is certifying you as an ethical hacker. So you're not just going to apply for an ethical hacker position and you just tell the interviewer, listen, you can take my word, I am an ethical hacker. No, you need to have a certificate that validates your claim to be an ethical hacker. Now, as of May 2020, so last month basically, Payscale.com reported that ethical hackers earn a median, an average income of $85,000 per year. Obviously, these are salaries in America, all right? While calls for ethical hackers is expected to rise by 32% from 2018 to 2028. So it seems that there's gonna be a lot of job vacancies for ethical hackers. All right. As you all know, companies they are focusing a lot of budget and a lot of resources on securing their data, securing their clients' details. All right. So they will be employing ethical hackers to make sure that their system is safe, that their system is impenetrable. It means that no one can hack through it, right? So personal skills for ethical hackers. So as we've mentioned, all right, they need a bachelor degree in information technology or computer science. They require a CEH certification, all right, proven work experience as certified ethical hackers, all right. Almost all jobs nowadays require previous experience, advanced knowledge of network systems and security software. So you need to know how networks work, all right, and you need to know a lot about security software such as antivirus and virus creation, in-depth knowledge of parameter manipulation, session hijacking, and cross-site scripting, technical knowledge of routers, firewalls, and server systems, good written and verbal communication skills, good troubleshooting skills, ability to see big picture system flaws. So also, it's not just about hacking the system, but it's also about finding the flaws in the system that needs to be improved. So ethical hacking courses in Malta. So there are a lot of institutions, all right, and schools, private schools that offer courses about ethical hacking. Okay, so as you can see, there is so basically these are all the same courses, all right, and they are offered by different institutions. All right, uh, keep in mind this is not a sponsored video. All right. Now, so ethical hacking is also picking up in Malta as well. All right. So basically, those are the roles that um, we discussed. All right. So something important to note and to realize is how lucky you are studying ICT C3. Why? So because I'll be going on the first page. Let's hope it doesn't crash. So as I was saying, you're lucky to studying ICT C3 because the content of ICT C3 is actually based on these interesting and contemporary jobs. Why? Because, for example, um, this year we started talking about game development. We had the topic game development, right? Unfortunately, we won't be able to finish to do the topic the assignment due to the coronavirus situation, right? But if the topic was intended to, it was like sort of like a taster to see what there is out there, all right? Even when we did the topic objective world and objective orientation, object orientation, sorry, all right? So that was sort of like a taster to how the industry works, all right? Um, software developers use objective world in order to create their products, their games, their software. All right. Also, last year, yes, I forgot, we had the coursework about robotics and sorry, not robotics, the soundation and animation. So you had to create sound, all right, where we use soundation. Remember last year. So and next year you'll have an assignment, you'll have a coursework about video editing. So both these courseworks, Foundation last year and video editing next year, those resemble the work done by video producers and a sound producer. All right. Also, next year you'll have another assignment about website development. All right. So, and in my previous video, in part one, we've seen about web developers. So, as you can see, our topics are based on the current industry out there. As I was saying before I think I did not mention it. Game development. We would have created a game for our last coursework this year. So it's also like a small taster of what there is out there. All right. So this concludes the session for today. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Remember, it is important to ask if you have any questions or if there's something that you have not understood. Also, I suggest that you keep on doing your own research. It is important. That internet is a beautiful thing, all right? It is an open library, so to speak. So keep on doing your own research and ask any questions. Now, before I stop recording, keep in mind that there are those two videos. I think there are two videos in the compulsory video list about jobs and roles in the IT industry. So I urge you to watch them. All right, I've been telling you this since day one of this year. And by next week, I'll be posting a test.